Luke Littler has added to his already growing collection by becoming the sixth different winner in a row of the World Grand Prix. And it was a fairly straightforward tournament for the Nuke. Other than a couple of moments here and there, it was a fairly easy win for Littler. It must starting to become the year of the Nuke, as was put by Wayne Mardle. My name is Tom Cole, and I'm going to be taking you through the World Grand Prix. So I thought I would have a look at my pre-tournament predictions to see how exactly I did get on. And I'll be honest, not too well. I did get two things correct though. I had Luke Humphries to be the runner-up, I got that right. And I also got Johnny Clayton to be a losing semi-finalist, which again was also correct. Other than that though, nothing was that good. Past the second round, I didn't get anything correct, really. Out of the 8 quarter-finalists I only got two of them correct. I also had Russell Nyman, Stephen Bunting, James Wade, Jan van Veen, Josh Rock and Ross Smith to be in the quarterfinals, yet most of them actually got knocked out in the first round. Not brilliant from me. And yeah, in terms of first round games I got right, I got Stephen Bunting correct, Danny Noppert, Gary Anderson, Mike DeDecker, Gowan Price, Josh Rock and Johnny Clayton, as well as Luke Humphries. Yeah, not my finest hour in the predictions side of things, but that's alright, you know. It's quite good that it turned out differently to what I thought it would what it would do, so can't complain too much about that. And then now I'm going to take a look at, in my opinion, who are the top 5 best performers. Again, this is in no particular order. I think it's fairly obvious too. I'm going to save this one. Of course, Luke Littler is on that list. You know, him being the champion at the end of the day. And yeah, as I said before, fairly straightforward tournament for him. Again, other than the Gowan Price game, the quarterfinals, it was a fairly easy win in the end for Littler, as well. Yeah, whether that was down to him, down to him just being too good or his opponents just not being good enough, is to be decided really. Luke Humphries as well, obviously our runner-up, this year became the first player since Taylor and Van Gowen to actually reach 3 Grand Prix finals in a row, and also became the first player since Van Barneveld in 2009 to actually lose back-to-back Grand Prix finals, and the first since Peter Wright to lose back-to-back finals altogether. Peter Wright lost the finals of both the UK Open and the World Series finals in 2015 and 2016. So a bit of trivia for you lot there. Yeah, again, Luke Humphries, I think obviously the final was very disappointing to watch in the end. Although, to be fair, in sets it looks bad. Like 6-1 in sets doesn't look good. However, in actual legs won, it was 19-14. So if it was like a match play or a Grand Slam final, we would have been saying completely. We would have been like, oh wow, that was a good final. That was a good final to watch. But yeah, I think Luke Humphries for me was the best performer this week, throughout the whole week. He did very well in his game. He made light work of Nathan Aspinall, which could have easily been a banana skin game, but he did very well there. Cruz again, Christopher Tysky, who didn't quite turn up. Same with Cameron Menzies as well in his quarterfinal, and then although he did have a little bit of a fight back from Danny Noppert, he then managed to beat him in the end quite comfortably. And again, it was just that final where things just didn't quite go to plan for Coolhand. But again, I think in a year where the majors haven't quite gone Luke Humphries' way, I mean, obviously yes, he's won the Masters and the Premier League. Other than that, hasn't quite been as good in the major. UK Open quarterfinal defeat. Lost quarterfinals of the World Series finals as well. First round exit in the match play. So hasn't been an amazing year for Luke Humphries in the majors, but he did manage to make the final here. So I think, although he did lose a little bit of ranking money, he did lose 60 grand for losing the final, I think overall it's still a pretty good week for Luke Humphries. Danny Noppert, in my opinion, who was the surprise package this week. I think I don't think anyone really thought he would go on the run he did. Again, Noppert had a very, very good tournament. Last night decided against Jermaine Watnamina in round 1, which could have easily went either way. The 158 to win it, unbelievable from Noppert. His second round game against Stephen Bunting as well, although it wasn't a brilliant game to watch, I'll admit. He still played very, very well, and I think again took advantage of a pretty poor Bunting performance. The quarterfinal against Gary Anderson, I thought was a very good game of darts between the two players. I think the 3-1 scoring that definitely flatters Noppert slightly, because I thought Gary did play very, very well, but in the end Noppert, he was very, very clinical in the times that it mattered, which in set play, if you can win so many legs, but if you're not winning those crucial legs, those legs actually winning the sets, it means nothing, and Noppert was doing just that. And even still, in his semi-final against Luke Humphries, I mean, yeah, he was 3-0 down, but he fought back very, very well in that game, to make a 4-3, but Humphries just absolutely powered through that last set. So, yeah, overall, very, very good tournament from Danny Noppert. He's now back into the top 10 of the Order of Merit, which is always very nice for him. Johnny Clayton as well, another one I thought had a very good tournament. The first round game against Andrew Gilding could have been another pretty tough game. He came through relatively unscathed. Didn't play amazingly against Luke Woodhouse in round 2, but again did just enough to beat him. Fantastic performance against Dirk van Duivenbode in the quarterfinals. Absolutely blitzed and I think it was 9-2 legs. So a brilliant game from Johnny Clayton. And he had his moments against Luke Littler in the semi-final. Again, I think 5-1 definitely flatters the scoreline a little bit. I think definitely it was definitely a closer game than what the score suggested. I think Clayton played very well, but just again, it was just those crucial moments that just weren't going his way. But once again, another semi-final for Johnny Clayton this year. I believe that's his fourth now. That is made this year, so he's had a very, very good year in the majors, sort of back to what his form was like back in 2021, 2022. So yeah, it's always great to see Johnny Clayton doing well, and I'm glad he is, because he definitely deserves it. He's a good lad, he's a very, very good player. And finally, I've gone with Cameron Menzies as my 5th best performer. I mean, who would have guessed that Menzies would have made the quarterfinals last week? Nobody. Menzies on the big stage always seems to not perform very well. He seems to always let the occasion get to him. He's usually a mess. They could put it bluntly on stage, but honestly, his mentality this week was night and day compared to what we've seen previously. I mean, literally, he looked so cool and collected while on stage. He easily dispatched Chris Dobie round 1. Dobie had an absolute nightmare in the doubles, but Menzies played very, very well. In a second round game against Rob Cross, again Cross having an absolute nightmare, but Menzies playing very, very well. In a scenario where he missed a handful of match darts, I think normally Menzies would have absolutely collapsed and Cross probably would have went on to win. But he kept his composure, and he deservedly beat Rob Cross. And again, I think, unfortunately for him, he just ran into Luke Humphries in the quarterfinals, where Menzies, I mean, he played alright. It wasn't as good as his first 2 games, but he still played well. It's just unfortunately, again, he was up against Luke Humphries. So that was that. And again, I do want to give a shout out to Dirk van Duivenbode as well. I thought he played very, very well this week as well. Again, unfortunately, that quarterfinal against Johnny Clayton didn't go to plan for him, but I thought in his first 2 games against Van Gogh and Gurney, he played very, very well. So I will give a shout out to him as well. I thought he had a very, very good tournament there. However, going from the 5 best performers to the 5 worst performers. Now, it's difficult to highlight players who actually played bad in a tournament, especially in one like the Grand Prix where it is a double start tournament, so you can't really look into it too much. But I have picked 5. I do think that this probably isn't open to interpretation. Again, this is my opinion. But these are the 5 I'm going with. First of all, Chris Dobie. I mean, it just didn't work out for him at all in that first round defeat to Menzies. Again, just an absolute nightmare on the doubles, both starting and finishing legs. Just wasn't going his way, and a pretty disappointing performance in the end from Chris Dobie, who again, it doesn't really seem to click for him on the big stages normally. I know he's had a couple of runs here and there normally at the Worlds, but other than that, he just isn't really going his way right now. Peter Wright, again, it feels harsh putting Peter Wright in this one, because I thought, in his first set against Mike Dedecker, he did do very, very well. He was playing brilliantly, but then once Dedecker turned it up a bit, Peter Wright sort of just fell away, and in the end, it was a fairly comfortable win for Mike Dedecker in that game, and Peter Wright has got a lot of money to defend at the end of this month, which could see him clinging on to the top 32. He may even fall out of it, depending on results. But Peter Wright, I think it's almost just a case of when and not if he does maybe look to maybe retire now. I think it's unfortunate, but I think that's just the way things are going for him right now. Andrew Gilding, I did put in this list. I mean, again, I thought it was quite harsh to put Gilding on here, but again, this game against Johnny Clayton, it just wasn't really clicking for him, and the double start, and to be fair, it was a pretty convincing win for Clayton in that game. That's why I put Gilding in there. Ross Smith, again, this is really harsh, but Ross Smith, you all know, he's had issues off the hockey in the last sort of couple of weeks, so I think that's definitely playing a big factor in this. Again, it just didn't really count for Ross Smith against Daryl Gurney. In that one, it's unfortunate because I like Ross Smith. I do like him a lot. I think he definitely is a better player than his ranking suggests. And I do think that there is going to be a one TV title down the line. I do think there is going to be a run somewhere where we can do well. Normally I probably would have been like, it might be best for him to have a break. But unfortunately, we're at that part of the year now where you can't afford to really take a break, because otherwise you're going to be losing on a lot of prize money. And in a year where Ross Smith isn't really defending much, he hasn't really got much to defend, so it's going to be mostly profit for Ross Smith for these upcoming tournaments. I think he's going to be more in the zone, but hopefully things do go out a bit better for Smudger. And finally, I've gone with Michael Van Gerwen. After winning the World Series finals, I thought things might start to turn around for Van Gerwen, but again, it was just another disastrous Grand Prix game against Van Duijvenbode. Again, Van Gerwen very nearly got whitewashed for the second year in a row. He lost 6-0 in legs to Daryl Gurney last year. Very nearly did it in this year. He was 4-0 down in legs to Dirk, but he did manage to win 2 legs, which were the first legs he's won since his round 2 defeat to Chris Toby back in 2023. So Van Gerwen not only, although he still hasn't won a set, it was his first legs that he won in 2 years. Van Gerwen's not had a brilliant run in this tournament since he won it back in 2022. Not great from MVG in that one. In one again, which I thought he might to make it around, but it just wasn't going for Van Gerwen in this one. Now I'm going to be moving on to the top 5 highest averages of the tournament. These were a lot of talking points this week because the Grand Prix, the averages, if you want to compare them to normal match play standards, you can be looking at maybe taking around 10 points off an average, maybe like 9 to 11 sort of points off an avrage. So it's very, very rare to have many ton plus averages, which again, there were only 2 this year, which was the same number as last year. So they get an average of around about the early 90s is probably about typical for the Grand Prix. I think people do forget that sometimes. But yeah, I think average around about 90s to mid 90s at around about correct. In 5th, Dirk Van Duijvenbode, again mentioned before, his average of 96.4 against Daryl Gurney round 2. Dirk, a brilliant performance in that game against Gurney. It's just a very typical Daryl Gurney performance in my opinion, where Gurney will play very well in the first round, but he gets to the second round, he has an absolute nightmare. And I think that definitely was the case in this game, but even still, Dirk, absolutely tremendous performance from him in this game. And as I already mentioned before, he's had a very, very good week, in my opinion. Next, Stephen Bunting averaged 97.02 against Nico Springer in his first round game. For me, it was the best Bunting has played in a major since the World Championships this year, in my opinion. I'll be honest, I like Bunting a lot, but I think he has not had a brilliant year in the majors, performance-wise. Although he has still made it to the quarterfinals of the match play and the last 16 of the UK Open. He's still doing alright, but for me, that first round game against Nico was definitely his best performance since the Worlds, in my opinion. And it's just a shame that his back meant that he couldn't quite do the same against Danny Norbert. But hopefully he gets that sorted out soon so he can go back to playing a bit better in the other tournaments. Luke Littler, his average of 97.26 against Johnny Clayton was number 3. Yeah, again, it's just a game where Littler he was just unstoppable in that game. He really, really was. Clayton still played well, but just couldn't get a sniff against Littler. He was really, really was brilliant from Littler. And again, it was a pretty dominant performance. Speaking of the Nuke, his average of 105.58 against Jan van Veen was the second highest average in the tournament and the third highest average of Grand Prix history. Averaging 105.58 in Grand Prix is absolutely exceptional. It really, really is. That first round game between Littler and Van Veen was absolutely nuts. And Littler, to be fair, I think, myself included, people thought Van Veen would beat Littler in that first round game. And to be fair, he easily could have done, but Littler was he was even better against Van Veen than what it was against Johnny Clayton. So, yeah, again, absolutely brilliant from Luke Littler in that game. And then, of course, the tournament record average was broken in a tournament by Jan Van Veen, 106.47 against Luke Littler, beating the previous record by 0.02, set by Alan Warren a little back in 2001. Yeah, Van Veen, I mean, literally Van Veen, he averaged 106.47 in the Grand Prix, which in normal terms would have been around about 116 average, maybe 117 in normal match play format. And he won 2 legs. he won 2 legs. He had three darts of double the whole game, which some people did point out as to why Van Veen's average was so high, because he only did have 3 darts of double to win legs. But at the same time, he still had to hit doubles to start legs as well. So it's at that point kind of redundant in my opinion. But yeah, Van Veen, I mean, actually, how only against Luke Littler could you get the new tournament record average and still not even come close to winning the match? It was absolutely ridiculous, that game. It really, really was. And Van Veen and Littler both playing in the World Youth Championship today, which controversial perhaps, but yeah, you know, they're both of age, so why not, I suppose. But yeah, Van Veen, last year he ran into Ross Smith, who averaged about 101 in the first round. He couldn't get a sniff in that game. Then he comes against Littler, averaged 105. I mean, Van Veen's got some absolute rotten luck in these tournaments, but now he is in the top 16. Now he should hopefully, for him, start to get some more favourable first round opponents. Now moving on to the best 5 games of the whole tournament, and I'll be honest, I struggled to pick 5 just because, in my opinion, it wasn't a brilliant tournament this week. In my opinion, I'm not saying that because Littler won the whole thing or anything like that. That's not all. I just think the overall quality of the games and the dramas just wasn't quite there for me this week. Yeah, it's definitely not going to be a tournament which is going to be in the record books by any means. Yeah, it's not. I'll be honest, but I've still got my top 5. Let's have a look at them. So first, I do have Danny Noppert's game against Jermaine Watanabe in round 1. I think just because both players did play very, very well. It went down to a last hit decider. Noppert winning it again with the 1-5 checkout. For me, it's unbelievable, and literally that was the catalyst for what Noppert went on to achieve this week. So yeah, a pretty important game. Then next game for in this is also a game with included Danny Noppert, which was his game against Gary Anderson in the quarterfinals. Again, a 3-1 win for Noppert. Again, I mentioned before, a scoreline which I think definitely flatters Noppert a little bit. I'm not taking anything away from him because again, he played very, very well. But so did Gary Anderson, and yeah, the 3-1 scoreline definitely didn't tell the full story in my opinion. And again, Noppert was just more clinical in those doubles. Next, yeah, another Noppert game. His game against Luke Humphries in the semi-finals, where Humphries won 5-3. Again, Noppert played very, very well. He was 3-0 down to Luke Humphries, although he probably should have. Again, it was a similar story where the sets were going down to a 5th leg, but Noppert was losing the 5th leg. You know, Noppert should have been the 1-1 after set 2, but he didn't, and fans had 3-0 down, but he did manage to bring it back to 4-3. Again, before Luke Humphries absolutely steamrolled them in that last set to clinch the win. Again, both players played very, very well, and yeah, it was a very enjoyable game to watch. The next, of course, I've just briefly mentioned it there, the Jan Van Veen game in the first round. Again, I've just already mentioned before, but again, two players, the 2 highest averages the whole tournament, two of the 3 highest in the Grand Prix history. Yeah, it was a brilliant game of darts to watch, really, really was. And they, again, what else can you say about Littler and Van Veen? Van Veen lost because he was playing Luke Littler. That's the reason why he lost, essentially. He was absolutely insane, it really, really was. And of course, the best game of the tournament, no shock to anybody, is Littler against Gerwyn Price in the quarterfinals. Gerwyn Price, for the 3rd time this year, has chucked it away in a major against Luke Littler. Premier League semi-finals, he was in control of the match, should have won it. He didn't. World Series finals, semi-finals, race to 11, he was 9 ticks up, didn't win the match. And again, in the Grand Prix, 2-0 up in sets. You know, missed 3-match starts. Lost the match. Littler taking out 1-5-2 check out to win it in the last leg was absolutely ridiculous. Really well. And also, a theme as well with Littler this week is that whenever his opponent was sat on a double, and Littler had a Thomas check out to take out, you would bet your money that Littler would take out that check out, because absolutely just the amount of times that happened this week was insane. It really, really was. Yeah, I mean, again, that quarterfinal was a brilliant game of DOS to watch. It really, you know, the whole drama about the whole game as well. You know, both players really were going at each other as well in a friendly way. Like it wasn't like vicious or anything like that. It was just competitive nature. Yeah, it really did have everything. And for me, it was by far and away the best game of the week for me, without a doubt. Yeah, really, really good game. So now we're going to have a look at the updated rankings on the order of merit. So as you can see, there have been quite a bit of movement in the order of merit. So, Danny Noppert and Cameron Menzies were both the highest movers going up. Both going up 4 places. You know, Noppert now in the top 10 in the world. Menzies now in the top 32. So it's always nice. Rob Cross, Josh Rock both moving back up into the top 10. Dolby coming down a little bit. Geraint Price, obviously, you know, he was defending money from 2 years ago from his final spot. Obviously, he lost a bit of money there. Damon Head's gone down as well. Ross Smith as well going down. Schindler now back into the top 16 officially now, due to Peter Rice losing a bit of money as well. He's now dropped out. Dimitri Van den Berg didn't even compete in Leicester this week, but he still managed to go up 1. Jermaine Watermina as well, despite losing his opening round game, gone up 2 spots. Nathan Aspinall, now the same as well. Ryan Joyce, Gurney both going up as well. Richie Edhouse again didn't compete, but he's now up to 26. Michael Smith, you know, he lost 40 grand from last time. He's now down to 27. Which is just absolutely insane. You know, like literally, like this time last year he was world number 2. The last year now he's 27. It's insane. Luke Woodhouse as well. He moved up Menzies. I mentioned Van Duivenbode. Joe Cullen now. You know, he lost a bit of money from 2 years ago as well. He's now down to world number 32. He's just inside the top 32 now. He's literally clinging on to his spot. So it looks as though he probably will be unseeded going into the World Championship, which is just crazy. Pikachu's fallen out of the top 32. Obviously, he didn't compete in Leicester this week. Again, Scott Williams, Verstappen both moving up because Dolan lost his prize money from a couple of years ago. As well, Kevin Dude's going up. You know, Callum Ridge obviously lost a bit of money, so Dude's now gone up as well. Moving down, obviously Nico Springer now up to world number 61. I believe was the lowest ever ranked player to play in the Grand Prix, I believe. So yeah, pretty good achievement for Nico Springer. He's now truly up into the top 64 now, so he should hopefully be able to keep hold of the 2 card anyway. Although that probably wasn't in doubt, because he's still got, you know, he is going to qualify for the Euros. He's probably going to be in the Grand Slam as well, so he's got money coming in as well. And Joseph de Souza again was defending money. He's now outside the top 64. So yeah, it looks as though Jose is going to lose his 2 card, which is a bit of a shame. And then looking ahead finally to upcoming events in the PTC next month or so. October is a very, very, very busy month, as we do have the end of both the Pro Tours and the Euro Tour. As I mentioned before, the World Youth Championship is actually underway today. Obviously, the finals going to be played in Minehead next month. That's obviously Luke Littler and Jan Van Veen are both playing in this one, as is Bo Greaves. In my opinion, they probably shouldn't be playing in it, because, you know, they are, like, those 3 players are all miles better than everybody else. But, you know, again, it is what it is. And of course, there are 2 Pro Tours this week as well. Then the final staging of the Euro Tour next week as well in Hildesheim. Lots to play for in that tournament, which is great to see. And then, of course, that then moves on to the European Championship in Dortmund in a fortnight time. Cannot wait for that one to get underway. And then, of course, the end of the Players Championships at the end of the month. And then, of course, the Grand Slam qualifiers as well. So guys, that's going to be it for this video. Hope you guys did enjoy it. Please do let me know what you guys thought of the Grand Prix. Did you enjoy it? Which players stood out for you the most? Which games were the best in your opinion? Literally any thoughts you have on this video or on the Grand Prix, do let me know down below in the comments. Just watching, guys. I'll see you next time.